Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, some CM Punk WWE return plans have been revealed. We've got an update on a WWE champion not being cleared to wrestle. We're going to tell you why Gunther versus Gable was not on Payback. And we've also got an update on CJ Perry and her AEW status going forward. I'm Andy, and this is the news. Right, we're going to begin this one by talking about Phil Brooks. Hey, he's the guy. He's in the headlines every single day. It's going to be this way for a while, I imagine, particularly if he goes on a podcast or something. Anyway, let's talk about him with regards to WWE. You remember last year? Brawl out, indefinite suspension. Talk towards the end of the year that Mr. Punk was looking to secure some kind of buyout of his AEW contract. Obviously, that didn't end up happening, and he ended up going back to AEW in June before he was released last week after more kerfuffles all over the place. Well, during that time, towards the end of last year, apparently he was open to returning to WWE, and there was a lot of reports on WWE interest at the time. We got an update here from Fightful Select, published overnight, at least in UK time zones, noting that Punk was open to leaving AEW while he was suspended last December. Presumably he was still suspended then. He was open to leaving AEW, going to WWE, entering the Royal Rumble, and then wrestling at Mania as well. WWE sources have indicated Kevin Owens' name was thrown around as part of this. It's noted that Punk would have wanted at Mania to potentially face somebody who threw him out of the Royal Rumble. So maybe KO throws him out of the Rumble, maybe they wrestle at Mania. We should note, however, that one source has noted that Owens' name didn't come up as part of the Punk pitch or anything like that, though his name had been thrown around for that role backstage. Of course, Kevin ended up headlining WrestleMania's first night, teaming with Sami Zayn to beat the Usos in a tremendous match, and I don't know if he would have swapped that for anything, really, apart from maybe dethroning Roman, but, you know, obviously Cody Rhodes, he had that match. There's no word on whether or not WWE are actually interested in these ideas from Punk, as in coming back, competing in the Rumble, facing someone at WrestleMania, all of that. There's no word on whether or not AEW was actually entertaining letting the guy go either. Obviously, he would have still been contracted to AEW at the time. So even if WWE were interested in doing this, they wouldn't have been able to negotiate with the guy. Now remember, earlier this year, Punk of course turned up to an episode of Raw, broke bread with The Miz, and then got told by Triple H, hey, this isn't a good look, man. Come on, you can't be here. And he got sent on his merry way while WWE was in Chicago. Of course, like I said, he ended up going back to AEW, and we all know how that ended. So I think this is an interesting story to go over right now at this specific moment, because with Punk becoming a free agent, the WWE speculation has fired all the way back up again, and it will continue to do so probably forever. You know how these things go. There's no word on a non-compete clause or anything like that. NDAs, whatever. Punk might not be able to do anything legally with another wrestling company for a while. We just don't know. There'll be plenty of speculation coming over the next few weeks and months and years and whatever. Do you remember when Punk was inactive and like every month it was like CM Punk return rumors or whatever for like 7 straight years? That's what we're going to get again. So, hey, stay put. We'll have them right here. But let us know down in the comments section below. Do you want to see CM Punk go back to WWE? Do you think it would be a good idea? Do you think this Royal Rumble WrestleMania plan would have worked out? Would that have been good? Would it have been rubbish? You tell me. Let me know down in the comments below. Right, let's talk about a WWE champion not being cleared to compete. If you watched last night's episode of Raw, you'll know that Postman Pierce, general manager, whatever he is, admin guy, Adam Pearce, he confirmed during the show that Piper Niven is not cleared to compete, one half of the women's tag team champions, of course. It turns out this wasn't just a storyline thing. Piper Niven is actually dealing with an issue at the moment, but according to Fightful Select, it's a short-term illness, and she is expected to be back in a week or two if all goes well. So obviously when Adam Pearce announced this, people were like, cursed division, here we go again. You think of the myriad problems that scene has had with people having to vacate the belt, Sonya Deville being the most recent example, injuries and other things coming up. It's been a nightmare at times for the women's tag team championships, but that's not the case here. There are no plans to vacate the titles from Piper Niven and Chelsea Green at the moment, and it looks like Piper will be back soon, so that's a bit of a relief. And a nice little update coming out of last night's episode of Raw. I think Chelsea Green has to really be she deserves praise for what she's done in the middle of several calamities. Well, not calamities, but things that have not been great for her booking. Of course, the injury to Sonya Deville, that's a calamity. Sonya's going to be out for ages, and it meant that after already pivoting away from Carmella and Chelsea Green, Chelsea had to kind of do something new with Piper, and that's good and that's great, and that must have been a bit of a scare when this report came out to a lot of people, but Piper Niven's going to be okay, and she's going to be fine to go in a week or two if all goes well. Of course, Chelsea had been paired with Carmella before this as well, but she is taking time off for better circumstances. Her and Corey Graves are expecting their first child, which is great news, but obviously for Chelsea it's like, oh man, this act was really good. Now I've got to kind of figure something else out. Obviously, that's less important than Carmella having a kid, which is tremendous. So, yeah, shout outs to Chelsea Green for always pivoting and stuff, and shout outs for Piper Niven. I think this is a really good role for her, and I'm glad to hear that she will be back in action soon. It's a good tag team. Hope they can have a nice run with those belts and that the division isn't truly cursed. Let's move on to our next story. Do you want to know why Chad Gable versus Gunther wasn't on Payback but was on Raw again last night? Fightful Select's coming through a bunch of reasons for this. Obviously, a lot of people were like, hey, this is a great feud. Why is it not on the premium live event? Well, apparently the primary reason for this is that WWE doesn't want their PLEs to overstay their welcome. At the moment, they have been conscious and they've been very particular about the run times, only doing like 7 or 8 matches at times and trying to keep things around the 3-4 hour mark. And this is especially true, Fightful notes, for events that aren't taking places in major, huge stadiums, so your regular garden variety arena shows. I guess this has meant that several matches that had been considered for PLEs recently have been bumped off and moved on to a different show. There's also some other stuff here as well in this report. Fightful noting that Gunther having the match on Raw moved him closer to the match being closer to Honky Tonk Man's all-time record with the Intercontinental title. Now, I mean, it's 2 days closer, but hey, it's closer. That's not wrong. And it's noted as well that this allowed WWE to highlight the match a little bit more, holding it on Raw than on the PLE. Yeah, I guess if you put it on the PLE, you're competing with world title matches and stuff. It moves closer to becoming just another match, whereas on Raw, it's like a centerpiece, and you can put it in the main event, and it's really cool. So there you go. That's the report. Those are the reasons. They had their latest match on last night's episode of Raw. Another fantastic, just a tremendous series of matches from these two. Gunther retaining again. It's been a great rivalry. It's been a great title run. Gunther is well deserving of beating Honky Tonk Man's record. And shout out to Chad Gable as well. He's found a nice role here. This is a killer role for him, in fact, as just one of the guys making the most of his minutes on Raw every single week. He's one of the best in-ring dudes in the company. He was long considered the most underrated wrestler in the company for good reason. But now in 2023, I don't think you can really call him underrated anymore. Everybody knows how great this guy is. Everybody sees it every single week. It's great seeing him getting his flowers. I love him in this spot. He's in a really good position. He's also a guy who can lose these high-profile matches and still be someone people are really engaged with. Obviously, it would be nice to see him win a big match at some point. That'd be sick. I love Chad Gable. But for now, killing it. Both guys, love it. Final story of the video, CJ Perry, she showed up at All Out this weekend, the former Lana, helping her husband Miro. Powerhouse Hobbs turned on Miro after Miro had beaten Hobbs. CJ Perry came down, cracked Hobbs with a steel chair. Miro then got the upper hand, but he spurned his wife and headed to the back. Of course, he's referenced Perry several times in promos, like every week. Now he is kind of leaving her behind as part of his current storyline arc. Not in real life, obviously, that'd be weird. And sad as well. Shout outs to those two, they're great. Tony Khan delivered a bit of an update on Perry's status during the post All Out media scrum. We would have covered this yesterday, but the boys had a lot of other stuff to do. So I'll just read you a Tony Khan quote on Perry's debut so you kind of understand what her role is. I think it's great to have CJ here. Sorry, I've got a cold. Very pumped up. I think it's great to have CJ here, said Tony. It's not a long-term guaranteed thing or anything, but at least for tonight, it was great to have her appearing for us. And I thought it was a great surprise. It was a great show. So there you go. Doesn't sound like this is going to be a long-term agreement, but he also doesn't rule out the prospect of CJ appearing again. It would make sense as part of this storyline. Now, Perry's not wrestled since leaving WWE in 2021. She was released, of course, the former Lana. She was lined up for that weird Offers of Pain show that they were promoting in Nottingham, England. She was going to face Nia Jax for the women's title or something. It was all very strange, that show, and it eventually got cancelled, and Offers of Pain are apparently going back to WWE. I don't know, weird times. But yeah, it was a big surprise seeing her on the show on Sunday. It was a cool surprise, I'm not gonna lie. I popped. I was like, oh, hey, it's CJ Perry, Lana. She's here, cool. And she's been referenced several times in the story with Miro and his character arc and all this stuff. Kind of like a light level of usage, definitely makes sense. Good for her, good for them, good for wrestling. Let's move over to our questions of the day. These are from Twitter/X. Whatever you want to call this app with that stupid billionaire guy. Anyway, Ong has been on, legend of the channel, and indeed the replies. Hello, legends of WhatCulture. I think everyone will be asking the same question about CM Punk possibly joining WWE or not, but my question is, who would benefit WWE more, Edge or CM Punk? Since WWE also lost a huge star in Bray Wyatt, rest in peace, do WWE need another huge star? So, it's an interesting one to consider, right? Because I think both of these people bring benefits to the company, obviously, big names, Edge and CM Punk. Edge, like, his run really resonated in arenas, like, people loved him, huge pops, great stuff. The high level stuff really clicked with a lot of folk. You know, it's a very particular style of wrestling that Edge does. It's very dramatic, very WWE style, and he fits that main event scene so well. Also, he's a really well-liked guy, respected dude to have around. I'm sure everyone loves him. I've never heard of it, apart from Matt Hardy, obviously. But that was a long-ass time ago. But yeah, you don't really hear about Edge causing problems backstage, which isn't necessarily true about the other guy. The thing about Edge that a lot of people don't often want to talk about is he wasn't really a ratings draw for WWE during this run. His retirement match was slightly different, but that's a big event, obviously. But there was a week in like 2021 where he appeared, or 2020 maybe, where he appeared on Raw, SmackDown and NXT all in the same week, and his quarter-hour ratings all went down. So while he's received like a hero in the building, Edge isn't a massive ratings draw for WWE, and therefore that does diminish his value to the company just a little bit. Now with CM Punk, he would bring some interest. He would get people talking. He would get people tuning in at least for a while. He'd be like, oh my god, what the heck is this guy doing back? And the recent controversy, I think, would only enhance that. However, he is going to be detrimental to WWE potentially in a way that Edge isn't. Punk's he's been involved in a lot of controversies lately, and you know, given his recent track record, I think that WWE may look at him and go, hey, that might happen over here, maybe we don't want to do that. So I think that they add value and not so much value in different ways. Who is more valuable? Who would benefit WWE more having them around? I think Edge. Well, he's not a big ratings draw for WWE, and you can look at the numbers if you don't believe me on that. He won't cause any problems either, and WWE seems very happy and harmonious at the moment, so that's worth protecting, I think. And look, I love CM Punk, but I don't know if him going back there is a good idea. Let's move on to our next question. Rock of Casual 7 has been on saying, good day from Australia. AEW's pay-per-views have been on fire, but weekly television hasn't been great. What changes need to happen to get the weekly product back on track? Yeah, this is a fair comment. I think All In and All Out were both tremendous, but the weekly TV increasingly earns mixed reviews, it's safe to say. Ratings are in a pretty steady place, but they haven't grown over the past year and a half, maybe 2 years. I don't know, I haven't gone back and looked at them in too much detail. But yeah, on a weekly basis, I think Collision was in a really great place. The past couple of shows maybe not hitting the same highs as the first few, but I think they can get back on track. Dynamite this week will be very interesting in the wake of CM Punk's departure. Was he causing problems by you know, shunning people from various brands and stuff? We'll find out. I think, honestly, a lot of AEW's problems do stem from them having too much talent. And what they're trying to do is focus too many people at too much, too often. And that means, ultimately, that you're not doing enough with everyone because there's so many people. And I would never sit here and advocate for releases or whatever. That's just mean. But they do have too many people, and they need to find better ways of using them that doesn't make everything feel so rushed and move on immediately as soon as something happens. That for me is probably the main thing. They need to just slow down, just calm down a little bit. And I also think there's merit to the argument that Tony Khan probably needs a little bit of help, right? I know he's got lots of people backstage, Christopher Daniels, QT Marshall, bunch of other people helping him out with creative and everything else. The guy does a lot, right? He books 3 weekly wrestling shows. Fulham Football Club, Jacksonville Jaguars. He's got a data analytics company as well. Maybe needs to take a month off, just get some headspace and see what can happen. But yeah, Tony needs help. He's got too many things going on. I think that's critical to getting TV back on track. But the pay-per-views kick ass, so I'm not complaining about those at all. Final question of the day comes from Harrison Maynard, who wants to know, what do you think is going through Punk's head after everything that has happened since Saturday? So, again, I'm sorry, I've got a cold, I've got the sniffles, it's not nice. I threw this one in because I think this is an important angle to consider here. The human aspect of this whole thing. Yeah, CM Punk might not be in the best place right now after everything that's gone on. And look, he is 100% done wrong at various points in this whole scenario. That's for sure. I'm not going to sit here and, pinpoint certain moments or whatever. But at the core of it, he's a human being. He's a flawed, complicated human being, just like the rest of us. And I do think that side of it has gone under-discussed in all of this. So I imagine he's probably upset, right? He's just lost his job. He is somebody who stands up for what he believes in, for better or worse, and that leads to him getting fired up. Sometimes he doesn't handle the conflicts too well, and as someone who maybe is in that headspace, yeah, it's probably safe to assume that maybe he's not feeling too great at the moment. So I hope he's doing okay. Hope he's well, and I hope he's able to move to a place of happiness if he isn't there already soon. I hope that whatever comes of this whole mess eventually fades out and he's just chill and he's enjoying life and all of that stuff. I hope the same for everyone involved in this situation, of course, but the wider discourse on all of this, we're gonna have to move on at some point, and I hope that point is relatively soon. We could talk about him going to WWE, all that stuff, but hey man, I don't know, it's kind of weird that a lot of people are jumping on the various social media apps and going, this guy is an asshole, or this guy is an I don't like him. People we've never met. People are complicated. Flawed human beings have positive and negative traits. We should all acknowledge that just a little bit more. So should this microphone. Get in the bin. I'll see you later.